have anything
Oh,
off the top of your head you can come up with?
no, I don't know.
Maybe this is the lead in. I just put Teresa on the spot like
Oh
immediately and
no.
board.
I'm bad with coming up with stuff on the spot, and I just didn't even think about it when I was
I didn't either
writing
because it's
down my
been a while
notes.
since we've done this.
Um,
My eyes are watering. That's a good look.
oh, I have no idea what to say.
To all who come to our happy place, welcome to the No Guilt Disney podcast, where we have no guilt about our love for all things Disney.
We're 2 and sometimes 3 Disney fangirls who probably know more about the Disney parks than most grown women should, and we're perfectly okay with that.
100% okay with that, and of all things. Hey y'all, I'm Patty Holiday from NoGuiltDisney.com and No Guilt Travel, No Guilt Fangirl, No Guilt Life. It's just the whole No Guilt universe that I have immersed myself into. You can find me on all socials at No Guilt Life. And we are missing Jane today, but Teresa is joining me. Hey, Teresa, where can they find
Hello.
you?
Yes, so I'm Teresa, and you can find me everywhere at Gertie the Dino. And she's gonna be discussed a little bit later today. Super excited about that.
She is. We have to talk about how your phone just like exploded
Yes,
because I imagine it did.
there's been a couple things making my phone blow up over the past week. So some of it good, some of it we'll see how it turns out. But yes, we have a lot to discuss this episode.
We do. This is a kind of a news, hyphenated news / your wine and dine primer, getting you ready for the race weekend. So it's going to be a mismatch of things, as always, because those are our favorite. But I would not be me if I didn't start off by just admitting that I have a problem, Teresa. I have been a little unfocused of late. For those that don't know, I love fandoms, like fandoms, fandoms in general. I love how much people love whatever it is that they love. And so for a while there, Teresa, I got to watch you and your friends on Twitter talking about your baseball.
Oh, which was for me personally a little heartbreaking.
I know, and now it's transitioned to I have a ton of Twitter Disney mutuals who are Phillies fans.
Yes, yeah, there's a
So
big contingent
there's a
of
big
Diz
contingent
Twitter
of
and
y'all
Phillies
out there.
fans.
So Dis Twitter Philly fans are like all hyped right now. So I'm watching that. But obviously, and I kept telling Jane that I was going to find a way to tie this into Disney. But the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce of it all. Before anybody like says, no. Okay, listen, this is not going to turn into that kind of discussion. However, just because it's been such a big like focus of my life lately, and I will admit this is what I do. I go down rabbit holes. I deep dive into things once I get excited about them. Jane has been dragging me into the Swiftiness of it all for the past year. So that part's not new. That part's not new. And I've actually loved the Kelceys from the Kelce Bowl, from the Super Bowl. That's where I met them. We're big NFL people over here. We are Dallas Cowboy fans. So therefore we obviously have to hate the Eagles, which I hate because I absolutely adore Jason Kelce. Anyway, I was listening to their podcast. This is how I'm tying it all in. I have listening to their podcast, and they were talking about their favorite theme park experiences and whatever. And you know what they mentioned?
What did they mention?
Typhoon Lagoon. They went to Typhoon Lagoon as kids. Yes. So Travis and Jason apparently did go to Disney World at some point as children. I've also seen pictures of them on Tower of Terrors as adults. So I know that they've been at least at some point. They've won Super Bowls. So, you know, at some point they had to go to Disney World or Disneyland or whatever. But anyway, they mentioned that Typhoon Lagoon was the scariest wave pool they'd ever been in. And Jason was like, well, it was the first wave pool I'd ever been in, but you know, it was terrifying to me. So anyway, so that's how we're going to kick off this episode of New News. For those of you that get it. Jane would be here saying new news, but she's not because Jane had things to do today. But anyway, the Kelceys have a great podcast. If you are into sports and into football and just into like two really decent dudes that are really funny, this is listen, they're embracing the whole Swiftiness of it all, and I really appreciate that. But I've been listening to them since the Kelsey Bowls, so this is all just like my worlds are colliding all over the place. And so when they said Disney on their podcast, I got super excited. I was like, I can mention it on my podcast now too. It's like a little collab with New Heights podcast that I just made up and is actually not a thing. Anyway, the collab is not a thing. The podcast is a thing.
Unless they're listening, in which case maybe it can be a thing.
Hey, you know what? And I think that we could just like invite them to come out and do one of these runDisney races with us one day. I think that would be a lot of fun to see them out there in costume, maybe, who knows? But yeah, just consider this your invitation to the Kelseys. You guys are always invited to come down and hang with us at Disney, Disneyland, Disney World. Either way, we'll take care of you guys.
And if you want to be a spectator, talk to Patty, because she will give you some good Swifty signage. Patty's your girl.
I've got some great ideas for this upcoming race weekend, okay? Probably the 10K, you're probably not going to see me for the half marathon, but you'll probably see me for the 10K with some Swifty Kelsey signage. I'm sorry. This is who I've become. It's not my fault. It's just my DNA. It's how I work. But okay. So we are going to talk a little bit about runDisney. And what you guys need to know, first of all, is obviously the race is like 2 weeks away from now. And there is some news that came out just like 3 days ago with the event guide and the start line and all of these things have come out. First of all, I've got this linked in show notes for you. Anything you need to like touch base on or go read, I've got some good information in there. If this is your first runDisney event and you are looking for kind of like a beginner's guide to runDisney, I also have like a step-by-step, like what your day is going to look like and what you're going to experience going to one of these races. That's I think I call it the beginner's guide to runDisney. I'll link that in the show notes too. So those will be some links for you guys to check them out if this is new to you. Something to notice if this is not new to you, the Wine and Dine half marathon course map is out and it's a little bit different. And one of the biggest things that we can get excited about is you no longer have to walk like 2 miles out to the start. Wasn't 2 miles, but it felt like 2 miles. It was like a mile though, Teresa. It was like a mile.
It was your warm up. It was your warm up for the race.
It was your warm up after your warm up because now they make you park and then you go all the way through Epcot security, all the way back out, and then you'd have to go out. And so I'm not kidding. At that extent, they were like adding on about 2 miles before your race. But for this race, you are actually starting literally in the Epcot parking lot like we do with the 5 and the 10Ks, which is great. In order to do that, they made some other changes to the course. So I just wanted to call those out for those that are curious about it. There's no out and back. There was an out and back section before. You don't have to do that this year. Instead, they're going to loop you by Blizzard Springs and Coronado, Blizzard Beach and Coronado Springs. So kind of if you can visualize what that looks like on Disney World, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, we have the map. You can go look at the map. You're going to start in that Epcot parking lot. And then it also looks like they're giving you a little bit more time through Hollywood Studios. So that's always exciting. More park time. I mean, this is why we pay for this. This is why we stress ourselves out of a registration. This is why we join Club runDisney so we don't have to stress ourselves out of a registration. Like it's a whole thing, right? It's so that you can get more park time. This one is going to give you a little bit more park time through Hollywood Studios. So that's cool. Get to Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land, which I think is awesome.
And you run by Gertie.
And I think go by Gertie.
I know historically from looking, I think the Walt Disney World Marathon, I believe that the full would go by that part of Hollywood Studios and kind of running by Echo Lake. And that was one of the things I've been trying to keep an eye out for upcoming halves. I'm running my first half in January for the Walt Disney World Half Marathon. They put Gertie in the artwork, which was what was the selling point there for like the 13. She was present. And I believe in the past, the half for Walt Disney World Marathon has not gone through Hollywood Studios because of just the placement. So
no,
I'm like,
no, you're right. It doesn't.
Yeah, the half doesn't. But so I've been keeping an eye out to be like, maybe since they put her in the artwork, it'll go there. So kind of seeing that. I know it's going to be different based on starting. And, I know the Walt Disney World Marathon course is different. But I'm holding on to hope that I will get to run by her in my first like real distance race.
Real race. Yeah. No, that would be awesome. My only concern with that is that half marathon, like one of the hype things about it is that you get to run through the
The
castle.
castle, yeah.
And so it's hard to get the castle and Hollywood Studios
Yes.
combined unless you really did something crazy. And
I don't
I,
think they would mess up,
yeah,
all of the other mapping that they have to do for the full race weekend to
right.
accommodate that.
But we'll
But
see. We'll see.
we'll
You can
see.
always go take your picture with Gertie afterwards in your shirt with hopefully
Exactly.
has Gertie on it. So,
Yes.
okay. So that's the map there. That's kind of like the biggest thing that I to take away. But I did also want to call out a couple of other things. First of all, we got a new chief in charge. There's a new guy in charge of Run Disney. This is Adam Ball. Adam is now the vice president of ESPN Wide World of Sports, Run Disney, and Disney Water Parks. So any beef that you have with those three parts of Walt Disney World, take it to Adam. He's the one in charge. Farron Kelly used to be the guy in charge. He has moved on. I don't know if it was a promotion or just I don't know what their org chart looks like, but I believe he's still at Disney. He just is doing something a little bit different now. But I think in my lifetime, in my Run Disney lifetime, it's been Farron Kelly. So this is very new and very different. And with new and different things, new and different people in charge, sometimes they shake things up and they like to do something different. One small thing compared to what Teresa's going to talk about in a minute that we noticed with Run Disney, but one small change that I wanted to call out to you is that they are doing a start group opening and closing time. They announced it in advance. They always did this. It just wasn't announced. So a lot of times people who like to sleep in or who got caught in traffic or who were just hanging out in the family area with friends and weren't paying attention would go, oh, crud, the race starts in 20 minutes. I got to hurry up and get to my corral. And so they'd go running through it. They are now officially letting you know when those cutoff times are, when those start corrals will close. So, for example, in the 5K, the race starts at 5 a.m. Group A will close at 4:45 a.m. So that means if you're in Group A and you want to get there at 4:46, they're going to tell you to go ahead and get into Group B. They're not going to let you to get up into Group A. So keep that in mind as you're making your timing and you're looking at your watch and you're doing your pre-run things to do, that they are letting you know in advance what that expectation is. So please go and look at those so that you know when you need to be in your corral, because it kind of stinks like if you have an A corral and then because you weren't paying attention, you're now in C corral, right? That's a bummer. So you don't want to do that, and you don't want to stress out volunteers because they don't get paid to listen to you whine about that. That's on you, baby. Especially now that they're giving you the times that you need to know about. Again, all of that, I do have it linked below that you can go and you can read about. Feel free to come to the Facebook group and ask any questions. I suspect that some of this upcoming race weekend will be different, and we may not know those differences until we get there and experience it because of some of the, just like I said, small tweaks and small changes that we're sensing and that we're seeing in the Run Disney community. So keep an eye on that. Be prepared. Likewise, if you do see something or you are told something or you find something different at Expo or whatever, please feel free to come into the group and let us know what you heard or what, because, more eyes and ears on the ground. If we can all collectively come up with kind of what's changing or what's happening, I'll take it. And I want the information. So feel free to come into the group and tell us that. Also, if you happen to see any Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift sightings while we're at the race weekend, you can certainly come into the group and let me know. Okay. Jane's going to kill me for that. Jane's over me. And Jane loves the Swifties and everything, but she's like, Patty, you got to get a grip. I'm taking it too far. Okay. So that's what you need to know that I could pick out just by a quick going through the event guide that I saw. Now, there is something else that I heard about, and Teresa has got a little bit more detail on it. That is going to be a change. And this is, again, one of those things that we know it's being an announced change now. Will it also stay this way for further races? We don't know yet because we got to see how it works for the first race. Sometimes they course correct. Sometimes they try things out and then they fix it and they go, that didn't work, or let's tweak it this way. Teresa, this has to do with our athletes with disabilities, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I might shorten that. AWD is the shortened acronym, so I might refer to it as that just for, expediency. But yes, so and this is something not everybody might be aware about because they only communicated this information to people who are registered as AWDs for Wine and Dine. And some of this information is starting to get shared in Facebook groups or, people who have been impacted sharing it on social media. So I'm going to read a quick note that was put in one of the Facebook groups to kind of sum up what the situation is. There is a new policy in place for non-wheel dependent AWDs, including those with service dogs. They are told that they will be starting in regular corrals with everyone else. They may be tethered to a guide or service dog. And I'm just going to stop there before I read the rest of the statement. So this is a big change. Historically, the athletes with disabilities have all checked in together at a tent the morning of the race and have all, I think at one point they were all starting behind the A group together. Recent races, it's been after the B group
Mm-hmm.
goes, they are then kind of filtering them in. They don't have their own dedicated corral. They're just kind of, filtered in behind the B group, which allows all of those runners and their guides to be able to effectively communicate with each other, to have the space that they need. And just kind of making sure that, again, for sort of safety, for making sure that those runners are able to have that accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
They've had them start, behind the B group and have them all start at the same time. So this is a big shift. Uh, this information about the timing change was just shared, 2 weeks before the race. And this is definitely going to be stressful for folks who are in the AWD community. So the rest of the statement is we're asking everyone to be kind, considerate, and be respectful to the AWDs and their companions. Embracing and promoting inclusive running through the runDisney community is important now more than ever. And so the way that AWDs can be identified, if you've ever seen somebody who has a gold bib on their back, kind of noting them or their companion as like an AWD racer or AWD companion on the front of their bib. You may have also noticed people with a gold circle sticker on it. That those are going to be the AWDs. So if you're in a corral and you see somebody like that who's frustrated or kind of seems a little off, just make sure give them space, give them compassion. And I wanted to bring this up because, this is a big shift. And I think the timing of it, the communication only going to that population, it not being publicly announced as a new policy, I think there's just a lot of challenges with the way that this news is rolling out. There is going to be an AWD tent or booth at Expo, and that's where they're telling people to check in, like when they're at Expo, going to get their bib, also go over there. They've being told, or somebody is communicating with runDisney, and runDisney is basically telling them to plead their case at the AWD booth during Wine and Dine if they think that, to have
They
them
should
be
be in
put
a higher
into an
corral.
in higher
Yeah.
corral, particularly because with 2 weeks until race time, most of them who have never had to provide proof of time before won't necessarily be able to get that in time. They might not be able to get to their doctor to get a note indicating that, they do need different
What
types
their
of
needs are, what their
accommodations.
concerns are. Yeah.
Yes, and I've seen people mentioning, oh, they should just train harder. And this isn't, going back to, this isn't about training. This isn't about people, needing that time to complete the race because of athletic ability. This is about being able to communicate effectively with your guide.
Yeah,
This
we're
is
not going to
for
do that.
people
That's
Yeah, this
not
is for
the,
people
yeah.
who maybe, have certain medical conditions where they might have an episode during the race and just need to
Mm-hmm.
move off to the side momentarily
Mm-hmm.
and get back on. For them, it is about granting a little extra time, not because they haven't trained, but because of a
Right.
medical need. So be patient with everyone as they're figuring this out. But I'm hoping that they rethink this as it moves to marathon weekend. That is going to be the first race I'm doing as an athlete with a
Mm-hmm.
disability. I've been able to get through the 5Ks before, but I'm much more anxious about doing a
It's a
half.
longer race. Yeah, for
and
sure.
and I had signed up, specifically thinking of doing my first half as a runDisney event, not just because I love Disney, but because of how they have, handled the situation with
Yeah.
athletes with disabilities in the past, and kind of knowing that I could go having an idea of what to expect and knowing that it would be a smooth race experience for all of the training that these people are doing to kind of complete the race. So we will see if things change. I do want to shout out Kayla Runs Disney on Instagram. She is also a runner with vision disabilities and has done a lot of races in the past. She just completed the Chicago Marathon. So she's well versed in racing as a runner with a disability, and she's been really great at collecting information and sharing it.
Good.
So if you are running with a disability, or if you've considered doing Run Disney as an athlete with a disability, I would definitely go follow her for updates as we get more information, particularly after we see how race weekend has gone.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I guess my issue with this is I don't get it. Again, we're not privy to why they feel the need to make this change. So I mean, I can guess and we can come up with all kinds of reasons that may or may not be truthful. We don't want to do that because that's just sharing perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
That's not sharing any kind of proof or any kind of anything that we really actually know. But there's certainly things that are being said out there that people are kind of linking to this change. And the only thing I can attest to personally is being up in corrals and seeing the athletes with disabilities queuing up, over to the side. There's not that many of them. So it just seems odd to me that this needs to be like this big, huge change for a pretty small subset of runners that I can't imagine that they're like causing any problems or really like I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me on that level. Again, I'm not privy to the numbers. I don't know what they're seeing on their end or why they think this is important to do. But I am with you, Teresa. Just in general, the general information and the rollout of it, I don't think was well communicated at all.
Yeah, and it's
Shocker,
just
Ren
and it
Disney doesn't
seems
communicate well.
and it
Who's heard
seems
that
like there's
before?
conflicting information or just
Yes,
confusing information. I'm going to
yes.
read straight from I did get a screenshot of part of the email,
Okay,
and it says human guides and the athlete they are assisting do not need to check in at the athletes with disabilities tent and must start together in their assigned start group. Athlete starting position is determined by proof of time or anticipated finish time to ensure you are participating with those with a similar pace to provide a safe race experience. I have also heard that somebody saw a map of the corrals and it did look like there was an AWD corral area, but for gold sticker,
hmm
racers only. We're not sure. Again, the information just seems very conflicting. It seems like there might
yeah.
be a spot for AWDs, but only for certain ones. It's seeming like you might get put into, a corral when you get there. So I would say if it's a
What's
concern you have, like definitely go to Expo when you're there. Go talk to
Yeah,
the people at the
absolutely. You got to
AWD
go
booth.
talk to the people to get it. And that's also maybe like the biggest problem is that if you're an experienced AWD person and you didn't realize you needed to do that, you didn't get the email or you just, glanced over it or whatever, assuming that it was all going to be run as normal. Hopefully the word is getting out and hopefully that
Right.
will not
Because
happen.
I even tried to look at the virtual expo
Yeah.
information to see if that was, noted anywhere on there, having a special space for athletes with disabilities to see the most up to date information, and I couldn't find it. So I think
Yeah.
that's where one of the challenges are, is that because I know somebody who is being very vocal about this, I was able to get information from her.
Got it.
But I think this is something. If it is, this is a huge shift, and I wish there was just more easily available information about it and what to do.
Agreed. Agreed. And again, I do like to give credit where credit's due. Most of the time, Disney does course correct and does a better job at things. That the whole costume drama that went on is an example of that. I think people, if you missed that one, it was just they put out something about costumes. People were interpreting it like incredibly narrowly, and when Disney finally came back and was like, no, here's what we really meant, and so they did come back out and kind of clarified what they really meant, which unfortunately still meant that some of the fun costumes are off the table. Like literally some people run in tables and those are no longer allowed. So some of the fun costumes are not going to be there, but they did clarify because people were reading into it as like you couldn't even have a tutu on, or you couldn't even have like a running skirt on because that was a layered effect. And Disney was like, calm down, and they came back and they clarified things. So hopefully we get some better clarification. I do feel for the athletes with disability runners who are probably nervous and stressed out about running a race like this in the first place, because I can only imagine how hard it must be, Teresa, to be visually impaired and running half a marathon in the dark. Half of it's going to be in the dark as you're taking off with a bazillion people around you. Like, I think you're already anxious to, on those levels. And then when they kind of, throw this out there as well, that kind of like, that stirs everything up. So as we noted, please like have kindness, give them support, give them a little space if they, if you see them, because I do think that that's kind of the most important thing is, and dogs are not your friends. Those are
Yes,
working
yes. If you see a
dogs.
dog at the race, that is most likely a service dog or a
Yeah.
guide dog, and that they will be working. That dog is going to be working for a few hours. They're
Let
going to be
them do
working
their
hard.
job.
So yes, just make sure that you. I know I'm the kind of person. I see a dog there. I want to pet the dogs always, but
Always,
these
always.
dogs are on the job. So just make sure giving their runners and their companions, whether it's human or furry, just making sure they have space that they need and are able to get themselves ready for completing a race. Like these races are significant, and everybody who's doing a race puts in a lot of time and effort to complete it, and just want to make sure that everyone's able to have as good of an experience as possible.
100%. Okay. Now on to additional news. More new news. We have just a couple of things that came out. Again, last week was kind of news-a-palooza. No, first and foremost, let's just like rip the Band-Aid off and talk about all the cost increases, all the price increases, because there were some pretty hefty ones. Annual passes, for example, went up at both coasts. So Walt Disney World and Disneyland both saw an increase in the annual pass programs. I got under the wire at Disney World and renewed because I kind of felt like it was going to happen. So I renewed early. Disneyland, I was not eligible to renew yet. So they got me. They're
And the
gonna get me.
Disneyland price increase for annual
It was a
passes
lot.
was more
It
significant. So
was.
we're not going to read the exact
No.
amounts for each one, but for Walt Disney World annual passes, it was between $30 and $40 based on which level you have. For Disneyland, it ranged anywhere from $50 to $150.
Mine's 150.
So substantially more.
Yep.
Again, not trying to assume anything, but I will say I find it, I don't think it's a coincidence that this also happened around the same time that they're determining some of the settlement information for the Magic Key lawsuit. I think that not necessarily that this money is to go to distribute that, but I
Right.
think it's a way to be able to not have as many restrictive days for Disneyland annual passes. They have to find a way to have fewer of them, or
Correct.
so I think that's kind of why you're seeing the prices increasing more substantially. There is to make sure that Magic Key holders can go to the park and take advantage of all the benefits of their annual pass,
as is required with this settlement that is coming out. I think I saw somewhere they're only like the people that were involved in it. You're only getting like average of like $67 or something like that. So like when we say settlement, people are not getting rich off of
right?
their Magic Key. But to your point is that I think that it changes the way the program looks, and hopefully will make it, for those that want to use their passes more often, which was the point of having the pass, right? That this should hopefully do that. So we'll see how that all shakes out. And if you're somebody who's like, oh, I had never thought about getting an annual pass, again, kind of just do some basic math and figure out how many days you would be going to either park to determine if it's worth it. I think now my Disneyland numbers of days, I think, are like, I want to say it's up to like 11. I think I have to go into the parks 11 days to make the annual pass a break even. And that's before discounts and whatever, which Disneyland is pretty generous with their discounts. You can get a lot of discounts on food and merch and stuff there. So if you're going to be buying those things, then you can certainly girl math that in there too. But I think I'm up to like 11 days or 12 days there. For next year should work, because I plan to go for D23 Expo We've got runDisney is back. I'm crossing my fingers that we get a second race at some point at Disneyland, so that would be there. And then, I will go to Oogie Boogie Bash until they kick me out. Unless, of course, I don't get into Oogie Boogie Bash. That's a whole nother story, but we're going to knock on all the wood that that's just not going to happen, because I would be so sad if I couldn't go do Oogie Boogie. I do love it. Okay, so that those tickets went up. And then also, just like your regular day tickets also went up at Disneyland for sure. Digital downloads of the magic, what am I trying to say here? PhotoPass, Memory Maker. That's the name of it. Memory Maker also went up in price. So again, like, everything changes, and we're not surprised, but yeah, everything went up a little bit.
Yeah, and one other thing I noted was for the category of tours and enchanting
Mm-hmm.
extras, which includes again some of the backstage stuff. It includes things like the fireworks, dessert parties, the
Mm-hmm.
cruises. Almost everything did have at least some level of price increase. For some, like the caring for giants that you can do at Animal Kingdom, I think it was a $4 increase. So some are small, but one really important thing to note about that is for some of the tours, and I know the fireworks, dessert parties, and generals, they're now moving to the date-based pricing, similar to what you get with when you're looking at your tickets for Walt Disney World. It's no longer going to be a consistent price for all of these bonuses. I did see the Keys to the Kingdom tour that goes through Magic Kingdom. That one, the lowest price for like the date range is actually slightly lower than the average price now. Again, only by like $4 or $5, not
Hey,
much.
bargain day.
But I did see, I think there, so the date break pricing, you hear that and you're
Yeah.
instantly thinking it's always going to be more. Not necessarily, but that's really important if that's something that you're factoring into
Mm-hmm.
what day you might want to do that, or even what trip, if you're doing multiple trips over the year. Definitely take a look at when the pricing might be higher or lower based on when you're going.
So that's a very good tip. I want to do the Africa trek, the
Yes, the Wild
well,
Africa Trek.
yes, I really want to do that one, and I haven't booked it yet, but I will actually now take that into advice, Teresa, and see which one of my trips might come up with the less expensive option now that we're doing date based pricing. Because yeah, it does. They'll get you. They'll get you on those popular weekends. So yeah, definitely something to pay attention to. That's a little of the bad news. Let's talk about the good news, the best news, the news that just like made me. I mean, I can't do backflips, but I would have done a backflip if I could do a Taylor Lautner backflip, because park hopping is back. All day park hopping is back. January 9th. But it's coming back. And that has been, if you've listened to any of my rants on this show, that has been like my biggest complaint is it's really freaking stupid and annoying that we weren't allowed to park hop sooner. Disneyland is still holding to their 11 a.m. as of this recording. That could change. So Disneyland, you can park hop after 11. But honestly, I didn't have any grief about that, because I could go into Disneyland, do 2 or 3 hours of something there, and then park hop over. But at Disney World, they made me wait till 2 o'clock, Teresa. I didn't like that.
Yes, and for me, that was always the challenge I had on the days I was trying to use Genie Plus. Because
Yes.
if you are in one park and then you are trying to schedule something for later or for it was just so much of a challenge to figure out when you would actually be in the other park. And I know they made some changes to like how you can pick your times
Mm-hmm.
now, but that was always a struggle I had. It was like, I don't know when I want to maybe start doing something later if they only have available after a certain time,
Yep.
because I don't know when I'm actually going to be able to get to that park, or the times available to me were not in the afternoon, and having to keep checking back was very frustrating.
You don't want to
So
be
I'm
on your
also,
phone the
yeah,
entire
exactly.
trip,
I don't want to be on my phone. And I'm just also, I'm a four parks one day kind of gal. Very challenging to do when you can't go to the second park
Till
until
two
2 o'clock.
o'clock.
Very hard to accomplish.
Yep.
So yeah, for
Yep.
me, sometimes I just want to pop in, do one thing early in the morning because of wait times, and then spend
Yes.
my day somewhere else.
Correct.
Now, also to note in this is that for annual pass holders, while we still, again, the park hopping timing restriction is going away for everybody, but the need for a reservation is not totally going away for annual pass holders. So you still would need a reservation if you are going into a park before 2 p.m. or all day at Saturdays and Sundays at Magic Kingdom. So you still need the reservations, but they are now introducing some more of the good to go days, which is something that Disneyland has had for a while
Hmm.
now. But basically, the good to go days, meaning that there's going to be some days where you don't need to worry about having that reservation in the morning. And
Yep.
hopefully, if that goes well, if they can make sure that they're able to staff appropriately based on other factors, hopefully, the good to go days are a sign that the annual pass reservations
Are
will
good
also
to go
be
too.
good to go away.
So my issue with this is that I think it's more a case of they're just trying to control how many annual pass holders show up on any given day, more so than it is a staffing. You know what I mean? Like they don't make as much money in my opinion. Jane fights me on this every single time. So she's not here. I can say this. My opinion is they don't make as much money off of an annual pass holder as they do off of like a regular ticket holder who's coming in on vacation, right? Like people like me and you, Teresa, even, and Jane, we cruise in, we do a couple of rides or we have our experiences and then we leave most of the time empty handed and without food in our bellies, right? Where there's a lot of people that will come in and they will spend a lot of money because they're there with their entire family and they're experiencing the parks and they're doing all those things. So in my head, I was just like, this is their way of still like trying to not make it harder on us, but like limiting how many annual pass holders can be in any given day. I think at this point, especially at Disney World, I don't feel like that's the big issue anymore. I feel like Disneyland, I could kind of buy it a little bit more than Disney World. So I'm still team like just get rid of the reservations. I don't think anybody needs them, but we'll see.
So the only thing I'll say back to that is because Walt Disney World does have the date based pricing for tickets, I think for people who do have a general guest ticket, that's how they know how many of
Yes.
them are coming in. And I think to your point, it is trying to balance, how many
Hmm.
annual pass holders are not there at a given time, but making sure that there's not maybe going to be a huge influx that you didn't prepare for. So I think because
What did they
based
call
on
us?
the
The I can't,
undesirable
undesirable
was
mix or whatever. I
right
mean, they're not wrong. Like I
unfavorable,
get where they're coming
unfavorable mix,
from.
but yes, along those lines.
Yeah.
But I think because they can determine that to an extent from the date-based ticketing that they do for everybody who's getting a ticket at Walt Disney World that's not an annual pass holder, I think this is still to an extent. I mean, just to make sure that they are only doing the number of staff that they think they need
Yeah.
versus having. So
Overstaffing. Yeah.
I do think it's a financial decision
For sure.
but I think it's more based on staffing than it is trying to discourage a certain type of guest.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a business decision I can respect, so I'll take that. We also have trams back in all four parks. All four parks. That makes me so happy because you guys know me. I time is money and I don't have time to like park way in the back of Epcot and then haul my cookies all the way up to the front because I walk really slow. And so I was paying the extra $20 for the preferred parking like at Epcot, for example. Honestly, I probably still will pay that. However, for those of you who don't want to pay that, you now can get on a tram and the tram will haul your cookies for you. You don't have to do those big long walks anymore at the end of the night or the middle of the hot day. I am team tram all the way. I have no actual answer as to why it took so long for all of them to get back online, but my assumption is staffing as always, and they just didn't think they had to. But if you've ever parked in the very back of Hollywood Studios parking lot and had to walk to the they had to like they've needed these trams for a really long time, so I'm so glad that they are coming back too.
And I have on the topic of transportation, I wanted to add in this is not something we had in our pre, our notes that we had when we were getting together, but I wanted to give an update. So I am somebody who, when I go to the parks, I usually rely on transportation from the airport
Mm-hmm.
to my resort. I cannot rent a car, so nobody wants that. No, nobody wants that to happen. So I had previously talked about, very good experiences with Sunshine Flyer, very bad experience with Mears Connect. And on a recent trip, I finally did the first time the Mears Connect driven by Sunshine since merged.
The merge.
The merge, and I was very anxious about it simply because of the how bad my experience had been with Mirrors
Hmm.
Connect. And I, again, Sunshine Flyer, it was great, and I was fully on board with it. Even though having to pay, I still wish I miss my Magical Express, but Sunshine Flyer was a really great alternative, and the cost wasn't that substantial going as a single person. But so I did finally do the Mirrors Connect driven by Sunshine. Happy to say, much better than when it was just Mears. My biggest issue with Sunshine Flyer was that it was just confusing when you're at the airport, where to go, the lineup, and
Yeah.
making sure you got onto the right shuttle. That always felt a little chaotic to me. So the Mears Connect, it is over on the side where Magical Express used to be, and they still have the same. It's essentially
Same
the exact same
setup. It's the
setup.
same
They
setup.
send
Yeah.
you, you have your line, and to say, okay, go to this number line, and that goes to a certain number of resorts. And I think the first time I had done that, it was like a 45-minute wait for a shuttle. And when I was leaving my resort at the end of my trip, they were 30 minutes late with no communication. Neither of those issues. I was able to essentially go straight onto the shuttle from MCO and sit there for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes while they made sure that they had, enough of a full bus to be able to take the shuttle over to the resorts. The ride was pretty quick. And
Good.
then when I was leaving, I was actually a little concerned I was going to be slightly late, so I had called to try and see if I could push it back to the next shuttle time, and they were agreeable to that. Like, that was a pretty easy process. Just I was just on the shuttle back to the resort, and I still had to pick up my bags. But yeah, they were great with accommodating that. But then when I got there, was able to get everything done on time. They still let me on the initial shuttle.
Oh,
So
good.
overall, even myself adding a wrench into the whole situation, it went really well. So
Good.
I had been very critical of them previously, so I wanted to shout out. It was a good experience. So anybody, I know there's a lot of people trying to figure out, transportation, what's the best way. If you're still looking for a shuttle option, and particularly if you are a solo traveler, the Mears Connect driven by Sunshine, I can recommend after my last experience.
Excellent. Excellent. We also have a new attraction at Epcot open. What do you think of Moana?
I think we discussed very briefly because I got to see it
Yeah.
after the Destination D. But for anybody who didn't listen to that episode, I actually, this is exactly how I want to see characters in IP incorporated into Epcot. I think it fits especially the location of it, because
Hmm.
this is located between the seas and the land,
Hmm.
which is very, very smart placement for this kind of attraction. It's I think it tells, the journey of water. I think it actually has a lot of really creative elements in there for you to see and play around with water. I think that there's enough space for people to move through. One of my favorite things that they have done is there's two different paths in some areas. So there's one path if you want to go and take pictures of something. There's another path if you just kind of want to walk by it and glance at it. So you won't necessarily get held up or stuck behind people if you aren't interested in taking photos at the
Go
time. You just want
Disney.
to see it. So that was great. And yeah, and they this is not about the attraction itself, but Disney did something that I've been wanting them to do for so long. Is they put up an hour long or so video on the day that this opened, onto their YouTube channel. Like just the atmosphere of it. So they have there's nobody there, and it's just a video of the different elements of it, and you get to hear just like the background music playing. I think Disney does not do enough to promote their background music and to promote those kinds of things, aka give me a new CD of all of your background tracks. Thank you. But yes, I love that they did that. But my favorite thing is that all of the characters from Moana are in this attraction. Moana does have a dedicated meet and greet
Uh-huh.
area that she wasn't there when I had the preview of it, but all of the characters are in this attraction, but not in your face in the attraction.
Got
Some of
it.
them are a little harder to find than others. I had to have somebody point a few out to me, but it's to me it's they have the characters in there. They have, the edutainment as part of it. It's gorgeous. If you haven't had a chance to go yet, it looks amazing, especially as it's starting to get to be dusk and some of the lighting package is
Yeah.
starting to be displayed. So I love this.
It
And I
looks
think it was a great addition
for
for
Epcot. Yeah, it's a
it's
good
just and
Epcot.
you just need more. I think all parks need more water features, and this is a great way of incorporating that. So
Okay.
big fan.
So you have that there, and then we also have you can meet Moana also at Animal Kingdom now. So I think she's the only princess in the park, or maybe Pocahontas is still there too.
I
Pocahontas
am
is
not
still
sure if
there.
Pocahontas is still meeting there.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So she might be the only princess in Animal Kingdom right now is Moana. So FYI, if that's your jam. We also have a report. I don't know when Disney's going to get it together, but we apparently have this new rule where we cannot have two water parks open at the same time at Walt Disney World. Um, this is our new experience that we are living with. And so, that being said, Typhoon Lagoon, Jason Kelsey, Typhoon Lagoon is shutting down for a little while. So, if you were going to make a return, you might want to put that off till it reopens. Just, I got you. So Typhoon Lagoon is going to close for refurbs, and Blizzard Beach is reopening, and that is November 6th. And I want to say Blizzard Beach went down like in the end of April, because I went for my first time to Blizzard Beach in April, and I came home thinking I was going to put my video together and put a blog post up about it, and then they closed it. And I was like, well, guess I don't have to do that now. However, it's now being reopened, so maybe I'll get around to this one of these days and get that together for you, in case you're curious about Blizzard Beach and if you're interested in going to one of these water parks. That one was I thought it was fun. I thought it was cute. It was a nice day for it. I have no massive complaints about Blizzard Beach at all. But I can't compare it to Typhoon Lagoon because I haven't been. So, and apparently won't be going anytime soon. Maybe April. Maybe they'll have it up and
Right.
running by the time I get there for the next race weekend. So we'll see about that. Um, and then just a little like teaser. The next time you see Teresa and I, we will probably be doing one of our live blogging, which is always a crap show because maybe
And I haven't been
Teresa
in one yet. I have no. I have. No, I
Teresa
think
might
the only
be the
one
secret.
we ate something
We
at
did.
Animal Kingdom. We
We
ate
did.
the jelly donut,
The
but
jelly
I think
donut.
that only went to the Facebook group.
I did.
But yeah, I have not been at one of the event live
So
live
well,
events.
Teresa might keep me, better on task than Jane because she was at both of the other two and that did not work out. So I'm hopeful maybe Teresa will keep me going. But we'll put together some live while we're there, kind of a podcast episode, and we'll put it back out here for you, for podcast listeners, straight podcast listeners. You did not get the two episodes of Oogie Boogie Bash or Not So Scary Halloween Party, simply because there wasn't a lot of talking going on. Most of that ended up being like the video of what happened. And I did take a lot of video while I was there and put it together for the YouTube watchers. But I did not remember to like pop on and have conversation enough. So there wasn't enough like conversation to like strip and put it out just for you guys to listen to. However, if you want to see what those are like, we do have that on the YouTube channel for you. So my hope is that for Jollywood Nights, we will do a little bit better job with that. And podcast listeners will actually get a review from this. Teresa and I are going to Jollywood Nights. This is the first year for this, the first night of the party, which literally means it's going to be a crap show. It's not, I can already guarantee you there will be complaints that a lot of people are going to walk away from this because, again, Disney sometimes has to do things and then they have to reassess and adjust and whatever. I have no idea. I haven't seen anything yet if there's going to be like a cast preview a night or two before. Usually there are for these kinds of things. So hopefully if they do that, then there'll be some feedback given, for that as well. But I know I'm excited about it. I know Teresa's excited about it. They came out with some information for us from a food aspect, which I'm also terrible about, like eating food at these parties. I hardly ever do it. So maybe again, Teresa will keep me on path to do that because I have picked out three things three things, two that I need and one that Teresa needs.
Yes, I also have three things that I
Okay,
need.
okay. So we'll
But
see. But the food options, the thing that made Teresa's phone blow up was the fact that there is a Santa Gertie cookie.
yes, and it will be obviously at Gertie's Ice Cream of Extinction over in
Yes,
Echo Lake. The cookie is just, it's adorable. I
it's
actually am very
adorable.
conflicted on eating it because I, I am a little conflicted. It's cute, but also I'm like, oh, it's Gertie. We'll see how it goes, but it's a sugar cookie with mint icing, and it's just so cute.
It is super
You
cute.
also it says it's also going to be available with mint soft serve, which is new because Gertie's has only ever done chocolate, vanilla, and
Chocolate.
swirl, or at least
Okay.
usually that's what they have. So because a lot of these items have seemed to be that they're only going to be available at the party, it will
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to find out if stuff like that mint soft serve will still be available during the day for guests. So
Kind of hard to
I'm
transfer
curious
that over. So
for that, something like that. Yeah, so
yeah,
I'm
we'll see.
curious.
We'll
We're not
see.
going to go over all of the food they announced because it was a lot.
A lot.
The Disney Parks blog has their foodie guide for it, but it does seem like most of the quick service is going to have a special menu for the event. Excluding the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land, but all of the restaurants that are on, Hollywood Boulevard, Commissary Lane, Echo Lake, and Grand Avenue, which is where Baseline and Pizza Rizzo
Mm-hmm.
are. So I know, I'm sure, Patty, you want to go check out Pizza Rizzo. Even if not one of the food items, I'm sure we're going to go check that out to see if there's anything fancy happening up there.
We got to pop in to the to the venue and see how it's going for this party, because it'd be fun if they did something up there too.
Yes, and it's
Always down
not.
for it.
One of the things that stood out to me is it's not like there's one or two special items at each of these. It looks like the entire menus for all of these
Honestly,
is an entirely new menu just for this event. My hope is that since it is full menu changes, that it will hopefully spread out some of the people a little bit, because that was a concern
yes.
I had, is that for Gertie, you're gonna have to stand in line because she does not have mobile order, which is also a note I'm going to make. But yeah, my hope is that this will help distribute people a little bit, so you're not just spending the entire party waiting in line for food.
Well, can I tell you where
They
I'm eating?
Yes.
I want to eat at Fairfax Fair.
Yes, is it the holiday turkey popover?
Yes, ma'am, it
Yes.
is.
Okay, good.
That
So
is
we will be doing
screaming
a live review of that.
absolutely. That is screaming my name. This is described as a roasted turkey, creamy mashed potatoes topped with gravy, cranberry chutney, chives, and in a house-made popover. I mean, hello. That's my love language. If you don't know, I could eat Thanksgiving dinner 365. Like Jane's got Halloween 365. I could eat Thanksgiving dinner 365. Okay. I love it so much. So I am all for this. And when I saw that, my eyes just lit up. And I'm going to pair that. I don't know that it's going to pair really well, but I don't care anyway. I'm going to pair it with the mistletoe martini at the
Oh, I
same
didn't look at that one.
location. Yeah, this is Tito's vodka with elderflower liqueur mixed with cranberry juice and topped with fresh cranberries and mint leaves. It looks beautiful, so obviously Instagram worthy, but more so, I think it's going to have a fair amount of oomph to that, and so I'm down with this. Yeah, this is my stop for food. At dessert, we will get our cookies and ice cream for sure. But
Yes.
this is
And I'll
where I
say
want to eat.
the other one is over in Echo Lake. So Epic Eats, which is like the funnel cake stand that's, sort of near where Indiana Jones is.
Mm-hmm.
They're having a spicy Korean chicken funnel cake,
Ooh.
which is spicy fried Korean chicken with pickled vegetables on top of a mini funnel cake. To me, that's like, there's my love language right there. I'm very excited to try that one. But the one thing I was mentioning, they did not indicate, and I'm hoping they will, but they did not indicate that all of this will be available for mobile order.
Right.
The only reason I am not convinced it will be is because of Disney IT having to change all of that over in the system, and especially on day one, if there's any challenges that I'm hoping you'll be able to mobile order things, because again, I think that will make it a lot
So much
smoother of an
smoother.
experience
Yeah.
for people who are being distributed and not having to just wait in line for food.
Yep.
So they did not confirm it's all going to be available via mobile order yet. Hopefully it will be. One thing that you will be doing in your app is for the Jazzy Holidays at the Hollywood Brown Derby. this is the only sit down dining, I
Right.
believe, that has a special menu, but you will not be able to do advanced dining reservations for it. They have said that if you want to do this experience, to go use your app and use the walk up reservation feature in there. So, and that's actually nice because it does tell you about how long it'll be before your wait time.
Did they
I would
mention
say
the Tower of Terror party
that
having
one
the
just says
same
drop
thing yet?
by.
Drop by.
Drop
Okay.
by the dazzling twilight soiree.
Well,
So I
we'll
think
pick
that
up
one
our drink and our popover and then go drop by and stand in
drop
line
by.
because I'm
Yeah.
guessing
So I
that we'll be dropping by for a long time.
yeah. So it'll be like it'll be interesting to see how well that does with getting people in and out. So that's the one that I think will hit capacity early on. And
Absolutely.
hopefully people will be respectful and spend their time there and then go explore other things so new people can spend their time there. But yeah, so that we'll see how that works out. But for the Hollywood Brown Derby, I would say if that's something that's high on your list to do, try to do the walk-up reservation early
Right.
because it could get full. And again, we talked about with looking at Genie Plus, you don't want to have to be spending your entire night on your phone looking to wait and see if something comes up. So I would say as soon as you get there, as soon as that reservation, walk-up reservation starts to open, just be ready to get in on it.
Teresa,
Yes.
what are you willing to tell us what your outfit plan looks like, what your bound is going to, are you doing a bound or are you
I
just
am.
doing, okay, you are doing a bound. I feel like we talked about this, but now I can't, it's been so long. I can't remember
It
what you said.
I am not going to say exactly
Okay.
what it is yet, but it is holiday themed. It is a character holiday themed, and I am doing a dapper glittery version of it.
Okay.
So
Because
they
I
have
have
said,
zero plans yet, and I need to get on your level because, like, this is my chance to like embrace it. Because I have somebody who's going to embrace it fully with me. So I need to get with you and figure out what we're going to wear because
yes.
I want to have some fun with this one.
So I think there's been some interesting conversation about Jollywood Nights for people thinking that it's specifically an adult only event. I think there has been some. It's not like
It's
it's not
not.
adults
Kids are
only,
absolutely invited. They're selling
but
kids tickets. So if
yes, but
you,
some of the language does make it seem like this is much more going to be geared towards adults
yeah,
than for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. So I do think they're trying to not discourage people from bringing kids or say that you can't bring
no,
kids, but I think they are trying to emphasize things about the event that it is going to be more of an adult focused event, which I'm excited about.
I am
I
too. I'm doing both. You opted out of the Mickey's Very Merry with me, but I'm going to do Mickey's Very Merry the night before, and then I'm going to do Jollywood Nights the next night, partially for a comparison, contrasting kind of situation. But that's my expectation is that at least based on what we're seeing, is that my guess will be that the recommendation will be if you have little kids, you might prefer the Magic Kingdom party versus adults only or even just teenagers. You might find the Jollywood Nights worth doing, assuming they do this again next year. That this becomes something that they bring back, which I'm excited in theory about it. Everything looks fun and amazing and cool to me.
and
So
Muppets. We did not mention
we
Muppets yet
didn't
in this
mention Muppets.
episode.
Yeah,
I
we
am
got Muppets,
I'm
man.
very excited for this Muppet variety show, which they haven't said much about other than it's happening.
They put
Um,
out some new artwork, and they did
yes,
show Piggy and Kermie on the stage. So we know like the Muppets themselves will be there. They're going to
yes,
be like, it's not going to be a
and
cartoon
I
version of them
believe
or whatever.
they've confirmed some princesses are going to be
Yes,
there. I think Tiana and Belle are two I
sounds right.
remember specifically. So it's going to be, I think, a mix of like holiday
Hmm.
songs and Disney songs. So we haven't gotten a ton of information
Don't know
out
how we're
yet,
going to fit all
but
this in, Teresa. We've got
that's
so much to do
I
that
know.
night.
Muppet, yes. So it's like Gertie, Cookie, and Muppets are really my top two priorities for this event, which should surprise nobody, nobody at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I'm kind of focusing in on this holiday turkey, man. And then my other top one is I do want to get into that party, even if I just stay for 5-10 minutes. The
At the tip top,
at the tip top, yeah.
yes.
So yeah, we've got some priorities. We've got some things that we're gonna figure out, and Jane will be so excited because not on any of my list is riding a ride.
I mean, if we're over by Tower of Terror,
this is what I'm saying.
may have to go in. Tower of Terror is my favorite ride in all of Walt Disney World.
I love it.
Depending on lines, but because I am going to be, again, trying to go with a old Hollywood vibe for my outfit, I do want to ride it while I'm,
absolutely.
It's thematically appropriate attraction,
and it would make great pictures. So we're gonna try to make this happen. Okay, any other news-ish type stuff that we want to touch on?
One other holiday note, because we did get the names of the narrators for Candlelight Processional, and it seemed substantially more newcomers this year than returning. There are some of the fan favorites like Neil Patrick Harris, John Stamos, Marlee Matlin, and Steve Curtin Chapman. They are all on the list to come back. But some of the really notable newcomers that I'm excited about. So we have Anne Margaret, Audra McDonald, Jordan Fisher, aka Happily Ever After, and the one I'm the most excited about, and I am the most disappointed to not be able to see, Brendan Fraser is making his debut for Candlelight Processional. I am so sad that I will not be there to see that.
I wonder if they're going to bring him coffee.
I know. It's like, I want that joke to be made, even though it's a completely other theme park.
Different park, but somebody needs to bring him some coffee. Just
I hope there is a reference. Yes. So Candlelight Processional is every night between November 24th and December 30th in Epcot. So go take a look at the list of narrators if you have not yet.
I think I have that for you guys somewhere too. I'll put that in the show notes also.
Yes, but yes, I would say everybody go to Brendan Fraser on my behalf and cheer very loudly for him.
You can go to Simu on my behalf and cheer very loudly for him because he's adorable and I love him so much. And he is making his return. He was there last year too. Okay, I think that wraps up this version of events. The next time you see us, well, there may be a Wine and Dine recap with Jane, depending on life, how we roll. So there may be a Wine and Dine recap with Jane, but there will definitely be a Teresa and Patty discussion of Jollywood Nights, because it's going to be like the biggest party of the year, I think. We'll see.
I'm very excited.
I'm super excited about it though. Okay. Anything else? Where can they find us?
Yes. So if you have any questions, Wine and Dine is coming up soon. So if you have any questions about it, or if you are coming up with your plans for Jollywood Nights, really if you have anything to discuss with us Disney related, we're happy to do that in our Facebook group, which is No Guilt Disney on Facebook. You can also email us any questions you have at noguiltdisneypod@gmail.com. And make sure you join us each week on the No Guilt Disney podcast, because as Patty likes to say,
it is no fun to fangirl Taylor Swift and the Kelsey brothers.
I think you are alone on this one, though.
Alone! Listen, y'all come join us in the Facebook group. We're all inclusive and we're welcoming there. We'll make it work. We'll make it fit with Disney, I promise. Bye, y'all.